All right, I believe we're live right now. What is going on with this team? Right, I just popped it on, and I'm back up here, and we're live from the TGI Fridays here in Stoughton, Massachusetts, and people are in here. They're trying to cheer for something, but not much on the shooting end going on right now.
No, not really. They're missing a ton of open shots. They're missing a ton of layups, points in the paint. Holiday missed a bunch of crazy little floaters, and the switching on defensive end is killing them. The switching is leaving all the guards on the bigs of Dallas. The offensive rebounds are killing them. But I mean, you got to give Dallas credit for their defense and the effort that they're playing with right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to credit Dallas. This is something we talked about in pregame. What does Dallas have to do tonight? And you're like, well, it's a tough climb, but there are some things Dallas has done well. And if we just look at the box score right now, number one thing we'll always point to it is the 3-point shooting. Celtics are 5 of 19, Dallas 5 of 15. So just a little bit of an advantage there, but it is an advantage. But you mentioned rebounds, 13 to 29. Did you see that number right there? Wow, I didn't realize that number.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing everything right. Everything's working. We said a lot of things had to go right for them, and everything is going right. I mean, the key to me the whole first half was it was someone other than Luka and Kyrie. It was Exum, Gafford, Lively, Jones gets a layup, PJ Washington hits a three. Every Kleba showing effort. When they play as a team, they look better. But my only thing with Dallas is, will they keep it up? Is it sustainable? Is the defense still going to be that way for the whole half? Or will the wheels fall off on this team like we've seen from them before? But so far, so good for Dallas. They're doing everything right.
One thing I wanted to mention, 61-35 right now is the score. 61 to 35. That would be a big comeback here. As far as free throws go, I talked about this earlier. Do you think the officiating has anything to do with it so far in this first half, Sharon?
Not really. I mean, they're just missing crazy shots. They're not moving the ball. They were dominant against this team in the assist category for the first 3 games, and the ball is sticking. You saw Mazzulla saying we're doing one thing and then the ball's not moving. I think they're taking crazy shots. You see Jaylen Brown took like a 30-footer for no reason. You see guys taking contested shots. They had chances where they had mismatches in the paint where you had Tatum with Kyrie on him, a foot from the basket, no one giving the ball. Al Horford with the guard on him, no one's giving him the ball underneath the basket. Like I said, Holiday missing shots in the paint, overpassing. There's little things they're doing on offense, but the thing is they're missing open shots. Again, missing shots in the paint. And we'll see if things will balance out in the second half, and will the Celtics put up a 35-point half again, which I really doubt.
So you're Joe Mazzulla right now. How do you play this thing, man? Do you try to cut it within double digits, 13 points? If it's a little ahead of that heading into the fourth quarter, do you still ride your guys the whole way? How do you manage this one if it maybe looks like Dallas is the better team tonight? Do you just kind of wave the white flag and wrap it up and head back to Boston? What does Joe Mazzulla do right now?
No, you play it out. You absolutely play it out. You've seen against this team, you just had a third quarter in the last game where you destroyed them by almost 20 in the third quarter. And it literally was like 5 or 6 minutes. You get it under 20 and you play it that way. Once it gets under 20, gets tight, we'll see. Luka missed a lot of shots in that first half. He made a ton, but I would play it normal. I'm not yanking starters until there's 3 minutes left and the game is over. But you play it and you try and sustain and play through it. But I think they'll be all right.
So a lot of people thought this thing was wrapped up, my man. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest.
Yeah, me included.
Okay. You know what? I thought the fact that they didn't come to shoot around yesterday might have hurt them. Yeah, I agree with you, sir. And I thought that Boston would come in. Remember, they would DMX, right? They're all woofing. Bark, 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 woof, woof, woof. Right? Where my dog's at. They were all ready to go. They didn't come out like that, though. So it's back-to-back games now where Dallas comes out. They obviously took it on the chin in Game 3. Game 4, the lively three, right? This
Yeah.
guy's all of a sudden now outside, and it was Tatum on him. So I want to just be critical. Tatum didn't think he was going to shoot it from out there. He hit it. But the rebounding, wow, that
Offensive rebounding.
I
Yeah.
can't believe that number when I read it. 20. They're getting smoked on the boards.
Yeah, and it's because of the switching. You know, the guard every time you look at Lively or Gafford getting a rebound or they're getting fouled or Kleba, every single time it's Pritchett, Derek White, or Holiday on those bigs because the Celtics bigs are getting caught 30 feet away from the basket trying to switch off on Luka. You saw Tillman get caught out way outside the basket, Horford way outside, Tatum and Brown way outside, away from the paint on those rebounds. They got to cut back on the switching and go back to playing Luka straight up. That way, none of those guys are wide open in those corners, which they weren't. They weren't in the first 3 games. Played Luka straight up. If he gets his, he gets his. But you got to stay home on everybody else, and that allows the bigs on bigs, and you can rebound the basketball. But no more trapping and switching on Luka and Kyrie. It's blowing them up.
Yeah, the Luka Kyrie. Here you go. Couple of things I wanted to bring up real quick. The Mavs dominated in the paint. At one point, I had 16 of the Mavs, 21 came in the paint. Brian Barrett of the Ringer posted that, he likes to look at the projections as far as points, possessions, offensive rating. Right now, when early on, the offensive rating was 84. The Mavs was 141 the way they were playing. It was just they were dominant. They did come out. I think the Celtics did struggle from 3, but when I look at the threes, I kind of eliminate it because it's on both sides. They're missing a big inside. I don't think you'll see Porzingis in a game like this, do you?
No, not in this situation. If they were up, you might have seen him out there. But the biggest key to the first half, this is it right here. Holiday, 1 for 6. Derek White, 1 for 5. Jaylen Brown, 3 for 10. Those 3 guys are 5 for 21. Yeah. That's the difference right there. 5 for 21 out of those guys. Al Horford didn't even shoot. So out of 4 of your starters, they've made a combined 5 shots. That's the difference right there. They're not making anything. And then you go on down to Dallas's bench. Derek Lively has made more shots than those guys. Dante Exum has made more shots. Kleber's made a shot. You know what I'm saying? They do Lively, Kyrie, Luka, Gafford. Well, Gafford's the only one that didn't make a shot. I think he went to the line. Daniel Jones has made a shot. PJ Washington. They're getting balance, whereas the Celtic starters aren't doing anything outside of Jason Tatum. And I expect that to change. 1 or 2 of those guys to come out of it. But I don't know if the Celtics offense will be this bad this half, but they might have put themselves in a hole too big that they can't dig out of.
They just might, but that's why I asked the question, is there a number where if you were to maybe, all right, look ahead, they got theirs, come back home, be ready, be rested. I wonder if there's a situation where they start to look at that, but I just saw the numbers here. The worst offensive rating throughout the entire postseason. So people want to talk about paths and everything like that. The Nuggets were the worst when they lost to the Timberwolves. Remember they lost in that game 6?
Yeah.
Well, the Celtics right now at 77.8. So if you want to look at that Denver game, their offensive rating that game was 76. Celtics 35 points on 45 possessions, 77%. It's their worst, clearly their worst offensive rating of the postseason, the worst offense. And, I thought it was the defense. I thought it was the defense that had them in this point.
Yeah.
And, it's their offense that's letting them down. So I guess they must have slipped on the defensive end too.
Yeah, the offense they're missing shots, man. They're missing their looks. You saw Pritchard take a 3 that literally was down and then rolled back out. Then Tillman misses the rebound on that to get a layup at the other end. You see Brown miss some layups. You saw Holiday miss layups on the inside. Derek White missed wide open 3s. Then Al Horford hits a 3, but it was late in the shot clock. You get a possession and Pritchard steps out of bounds. All those little things. But I think the way you would play this game is you get it under 20. Try and win the third quarter, even if you only win by 1 point. Try and win or play them even in the third quarter and kind of hang around. I think if you find yourself down 30 or something like that in the fourth quarter, that's when you call the dogs off. But I really want to see if Dallas can keep up the defensive intensity as this game goes on. Because even though Luka was scoring, he started to wear down after the first quarter. He missed like 6 shots in a row. He started getting a little tired. He started falling on his shots, but they weren't taking advantage on the 4-on-5s. And I just want to see if that'll continue in the second half.
I want to give Luka some credit, right? Criticized for the way that Game 3 ended, fouled out. He's come out really well. You just mentioned all the players that are struggling shooting, right? The Holidays, the Whites, etc. Well, yeah, they're 5 of 19 from 3, shooting 26%. From 2s, 6 of 18. But in the restricted area, they're 1 of 11. 1 of 11.
There it is.
Lucas made 10. He's 10 of 14 from the field. That's a difference right there.
Yeah, you're 1 and 11 in the paint. This is a team that shoot 80% in the paint or something like that for the series. You're 1 of 11 in the paint. That's the ball game right there. You got to make those shots when you get in the lane, and you can take a little more of them too. But I think that's the difference right there is the shots in the paint that they're not hitting. Tatum's the only one getting there and getting to the line. I think others need to follow along with that and try and get downhill and get to the basket on this team.
So a little bit of a letdown game so far. We'll see what happens. I am interested to see if they can they cut it 13, like 14, even 14, 13, 14, something like that. And I am curious how they do that. Can we just talk about Peyton Pritchard for a second? Is the moment? I think he's been fine, Cerrone. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been fine. But I'm starting to now. It's getting tighter, right? Is his struggle shooting affecting them with their offense and then therefore hurting them on defense?
I think he's getting burnt more on defense right now. And he's getting caught up in them switches on bigger players, and it's really hurting him. You got to find a way to keep, when they go to Dante Exum or Green, you have to find a way to make sure Pritchard is defending those guys. You can't keep having Pritchard out on an island against Luka and Kyrie or against a center. It's going to break his confidence. The same thing with Hauser. You can't have Hauser constantly on Luka. It's the only time Luka was hitting those shots is when Hauser and Tillman were on him. You can't have those guys switched out on Kyrie and Luka or on Biggs. And I think that's what's really hurting them. But I think if you play defense, and let me start over. If you score on your end, you're allowed to set your defense up the way you want. That's what's killing them. They're not making their shots in the paint. They're scrambling on defense. It's causing cross mismatches and blowing them up. You have to make your shots on your end so you can defend, slow the pace down, and man up on who you want to man up with. And I think that's one thing I'll be looking for in the third quarter.
I got one. How about Al Horford take a shot?
Yeah.
Take a shot, my man.
He hit one, but they called it a violation,
a
shot clock violation. Yeah. Yeah, he has to to get the guys out
away
from the basket. Yeah. And they got to look for him. When Al has the smaller guy on him and he's 3 feet from the basket, dump it in. That'll help that 1 for 11 percentage, down around the rim. But they're not looking for him in those situations. The ball is sticking a lot of dribbling, a lot of one-on-one. And here's the funny thing with the Tatum situation. Do you want Tatum to be this Tatum in this series, or do you want him to be the facilitating Tatum that you've had early on that everybody criticized?
This series, I'm the facilitator, but when you're down like this, I don't know, man. Right? Don't you take the wheels off?
Yeah, I mean, you got to try something different. I think they have to keep moving the ball. You have to defend, and most importantly, you got to defend the role players. Let Luka get his. He's got 20-something points at halftime. He's done this before in the series, but you have to keep all those bench players and role players from doing anything. That's the key. Let Luka and Kyrie get 60, stop everybody else.
Skaz's buddy Kyle Irving over at the Sporting News. The Celtics 35 points, lowest first half of the season. Their previous low, 38 when they lost to the Bucks second half. So I've said it 3 times now. That's why I think I got that feeling. I got that feeling that if this thing gets out of hand a little bit, he'll sit him. And I just want to bring up the Scott Foster effect because I'm getting tagged on it already. The officials. Do you think the officials had anything to do with the first half?
No. 1 for 11 in the paint. That's on you. That's you. You missed 10 layups. That's not Scott Foster. That's you. He's sending Tatum to the foul line. If anyone knows, Tatum's getting to the line. The Dallas has been called for fouls. PJ Washington, he's got 3 fouls on him. You have to capitalize on your end. You have to be aggressive. If you're standing around dribble, you're not going to go to the foul line. But when they've been aggressive, they've drawn fouls on Dallas. They've got things done. You have to figure out a way to be aggressive in the second half.
One last thing I'll say is back in 2008, in Game 4, the Celtics were down 24 points and came back to win. Can they do it in Game 4 of the 2024 series? We'll find out as we're about to begin the second half here, Cerrone. I don't know, man.
Everybody wanted some excitement. There was I wanted them to win with a little excitement. Well, here you go. This is what you asked for.
History's on their side, right? If they win, they're one of the greatest historical teams of all time. And if they come back from a historical deficit as well. So thank you all for joining us. 115 people jumped in or out. So that's a good time. And then Cerrone, we will recap everything coming up in the second half. Thanks, Skaz, for getting us going here on a exclusive halftime show on YouTube. Join us immediately after the game as we're here until 1 a.m. He's Cerrone Battle. I'm Joe Murray. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit.